Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Ryan Styles Harris, and in today's video, we're gonna take it old school, sort of. I remember when I first started this channel, I would go to the SUPERCUP races and I would kind of do a fun edit with some music, and then when I got back from that, I would just kind of go through the cars and show you guys what I did throughout the race day. So you know what? By golly, that's what we're gonna do today. So I went to a recent SUPERCUP race. I raced the 17.5 two-wheel drive expert stock buggy class and the 13.5 four-wheel drive class as well. And it was a fun weekend. We went out there with all the usuals: Dustin Spallone, Alessio Cafaro, Kenny Setzer, old buddy of mine, Jeremy Harris, and we all just had a great time. We were pitting with the Trinity boys. It was a pretty good weekend. So we're gonna go through all of this here in a second and give you guys the rundown of how I chased the setups on these cars throughout the weekend. But first, I wanted to give you guys a really cool, exciting piece of news. At least I am. You might not care, but hang on, let me show you something. I got a new sponsor for the upcoming year, and I'm really excited about it because they don't necessarily have anything to do with RC. You guys may have seen me talk about it in a Facebook post about how excited I was that Skillshare came in and wanted to sponsor our RC efforts here. So another brand that came on recently is Keybar. Super awesome brand. They're most famously known for these little key bars that you can put all of your keys in here and fold them all up and keep them in one neat, tidy place. They went ahead and gave me a discount code. I'll go ahead and share that with you guys. It's first link down in the description below. And then as an added bonus, they were really stoked that I have a Patreon group, and they made this super cool custom titanium key bar that has my Roost logo on it. I'll get a close-up shot of it so you guys can see what's going on here, but super cool that they're just totally on board with everything we got going on with the RC scene, and stoked that they're on board for the next year. So if you guys see a logo on my shirt or a sticker on my car, or you see this laying on my pit table, now you know why. So thanks to the awesome folks over at Keybar. You guys go check that link down below if you're looking for a super cool, awesome way to get your keys all dialed in. They definitely have you covered. Okay, enough yapping. Let's go ahead and jump into a good old-fashioned edit with some fun music, and then I'll be back in just a second to give you guys the rundown on what we got going on.
I've been driving around all night. Probably call you back and say I'm fine. Then you ask for a second time. Why are words so hard to find? I've been thinking a bit too much, feeling something but I don't know what. I hate how when it comes to us, I keep you close but out of touch. I don't know me, so you don't know me, and it gets lonely when I wanna let you in, but I just close up, won't let you close enough, like I want to, but I want to. It's like a class I never took, how to make myself an open book. If I could let you look, then maybe I'll be understood. 'Cause it's not like I don't feel things, I just don't know why I feel them. And I know you want the real thing. We both do, but I don't know me, so you don't know me, and it gets lonely when I wanna let you in, but I just close up, won't let you close enough, like I want to, but I want to. Know it's worth it to say what's hurting and break the surface when I wanna let you in, but I just close up, won't let you close enough, like I want to, but I want to. Ooh, you don't
been a minute since we've done one of those, but you know what? Felt good. So hopefully you guys liked it. I had a few guys asking for it. All right, which one are we going to start with? Let's go ahead and start with the 13.5 four-wheel drive class. Now, as you guys know, this is probably my favorite class and my favorite car to drive. Really interesting, challenging weekend with the brand new, fresh Newreds track. For those that don't know, Newreds is a high bite indoor dirt track that has a sealed surface. I don't know exactly the compound that they use, but it has a seal on top of the dirt, which keeps it pretty consistent and it provides a very high level of grip. I never know when they do these track redos if it's going to be we got to put a lot of rubber down to get the grip up to be consistent, or if it's going to be high bite right from the start and we're going to have to kind of dial the cars back a little bit so that we can drive them and keep them from flipping. Jumping right into it, with the 13.5 wheeler, I pretty much kept my standard setup. I'll go ahead, it'll be one of the links down below, the setup that I used for this one. But I want to put some caveats on here because if you guys want to try the setup that I used on your local track, just know that Newreds is an incredibly unique track. And especially this time because it had an incredible amount of 180-degree turns with one really big fast sweeper. So you had this very interesting trade-off where you needed the car to rotate and you needed to be able to drive quickly and maintain speed in that big sweeper, but you didn't want the car to flip. So every time somebody goes out there, they're always a little bit perplexed as to what direction to go with the setup. I'm not going to say that I got the setup absolutely perfect, but in round 2 of qualifying, I was well ahead of a TQ pace and I just threw it all away and I piped it and threw away my chances of getting a TQ. But it was very close all day with Dustin Spallone and Alessio Cafaro, and Kenny Setzer had some moments where he was definitely in the hunt for a TQ run, but I think the traffic just kind of got the worst of him, so he could never get quite a clean run and get out there at front. Shock package was pretty standard. We have the AE V2 yellow springs up front, the AE V2 blue springs in the rear. I run those pretty much everywhere. The only time I've ever deviated from that is the one time I ran this car on carpet, but kit pistons, 1.6s in the front, 1.7s in the rear. Shock oil was 42.5 up front and 37.5 in the rear. Standard kit sway bars on the car. The part where we started to deviate a little bit from my standard setup, and I played around with it, was the pivot width. And what do I mean by that? It's the hinge pins that hold the A-arms to the bulkhead of the car. It's kind of like when you narrow them up, the car will roll a lot more and it can flip a little bit easier. When you widen that pivot, the car flattens out a little bit and it doesn't roll as aggressively. The reason why I deviated from a narrow front pivot and a middle rear pivot was because of that high-speed sweeper. When I had the car narrowed up, I just couldn't keep it on all fours. It just wanted to flip almost constantly, and I found myself not being able to drive the car as hard as I wanted to. So we went ahead and widened it up a little bit in the front. We went to a middle pivot, and in the rear, we went to a super wide pivot. This gave me some stability in the car, and I could push it, and it didn't sacrifice too much overall grip. So that was really the only big, massive change that I did. But honestly, I don't know if that's exactly the right way to go about it. I think that if I went back to the track and tried it all over again, I would go back to my standard pivots and then maybe go to some thicker sway bars. That may have helped, may have not really sure, but I definitely want to try it next time I go back there. So notes for those of you if you want to try the setup I have down below and see if it works for you. All right, so we qualified third by like 1/100th of a second behind Alessio. And we put it into the A main there, and we're gonna see how we do in the A main. And when I come back, we will jump into my 2-wheel drive buggy and I'll give you guys the rundown on that one.
All right, turn marshals are ready. Look alive. This is the A main, the big show here. 13.5 wheeler. You guys are all going live. Less than 5. We're off. Keep it clean. Trigger works both ways. Oh, nice start, and we're off.
Sean's watching like a hawk.
He is. He ain't gonna let him get by, man. I know Sean. He ain't gonna let him get by with
Plexiglass
anything.
and watch him bounce off of it.
Alessio to the point now, getting by Dustin. Alessio coming home second in this class in the spring series after 4 races. He would love to start off the fall season with a win here. Kenny took the win in the spring series. Kenny's up in that number 3 spot, working his way, trying to get by Dustin. Dustin slammed the door. Oh, he lets it open. And he finds a way around it. It's Associated, followed by TLR, followed by TLR, followed by TLR, followed by TLR, followed by Associated, top 6. It's Alessio, followed by Kenny, Dustin, Ryan, Carlos, and Johnson. And it's Craig, Davis, Zach, and Jones. 1 down, 5 long minutes to go. Your leader, pink, teal, and purple, working his way up the hill, down the hill, around the corner, down the back stretch he goes. Someone sent it off the track. Good job, Jeremy. Thank you for looking. Alessio leading us off, so maybe between the doubles. Good job, you saw it.
Oh,
Leader starting to get some distance now. Alessio's been working on his rides, doing a lot of practice, and it pays it off. Alessio, Dustin, Harris, Kenny, and Speedy, top 5. Two down, 4 to go. 2 down, 4 to go. Alessio's got himself a 3-second lead on the field now. That's Jones behind him, but that is a lap down already. Alessio's on fire. Qualified second. Took that first spot within the first lap, first couple turns. Trying to put his AE ride on the top of the box here. That's your leader. That's your leader, Orange.
No, you're good.
That's going to be your leader, Zach. AJ, when you get to you, thanks, sir. There's Alessio. He's got a 3-second lead on Dustin. Dustin's got nothing on Harris. Harris is right there behind him. They are working their way across the stripe now. Dustin and Harris, 2 and 3. Kenny, 1.5 seconds back from those, outside the podium position. 3:10 down, 2:50 to go. Alessio, 4-second lead over the rest of the field. Dustin, Harris, Kenny, and Carl. And the top 3, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, all fairly close. Dustin and Harris, nose to tail, coming across the stripe, working their way over the double-double, coming into the roller. That's the race for 2nd and 3rd. Coming up the hill, down the hill. Harris has got a fast ride. Dustin TQ. Across the stripe they go. Harris has to back off a little bit. Oh, he's going to get it wrong in the doubles. That's going to let AJ sneak by, but I think AJ's a lap down. Oh, that's Carlos. Got the King ride this weekend, the King camp. Double-double, double-double. Dustin trying to catch Alessio, but he has got a 3-second lead with 10 seconds left. Pretty much the same distance he's had since the tone. Snuck on by Dustin and checked out. Orange up for you, thank you. Race it to the line, race it to the line, race it to the line, race it to the line. Waiting on a few more to finish. Waiting on Craig. Craig fly, Craig fly, Craig fly. That'll do it. Back it down.
So, don't think I had the fastest car of the group there. And that big bobble there in the middle just totally took me out of running. So cool to see Kenny bump up to the podium there. And Alessio, he definitely had dialed in his car and he was just lights out in the main. And he ran a pretty much flawless race, I'm pretty sure. So congrats to you, Alessio. Congrats, Dustin and Kenny. You guys did awesome getting on the podium. I'll just have to get you guys next time at Masters. Coming for you. Two-wheel drive time. So 17.5 two-wheel drive class. Same thing with this car. We were trying to get it to go through the 180s quickly and not flip in the sweeper. Link down below with the setup that I ended on. Played around with a lot of stuff throughout the weekend. And I started the weekend on a Dakota Fend hobby action-esque type setup, but we changed a few things. Biggest thing that we changed is we went to a low, wide rear pivot, because with the pivot lower, I definitely felt it had more grip than if it was higher. And I kind of needed that little bit of corner entry, mid and exit stability. The pivot, as you see it on the setup sheet, was low and wide. This is where it felt the most comfortable, but I don't think that it was the fastest. I think that in a perfect world, I could have done a little bit more with my tire prep or used a softer insert to generate the grip and stability that I wanted without having to go with such a stable, less reactive rear end. When that pivot is a little bit higher or it's a little bit narrower, the rear end of the car, it can kind of float and it can kind of rotate a little bit faster, which is definitely what this track needed. However, I kind of had just a day of practice and I wanted to get the car to a point where it was pretty fast, but more importantly, I could do the fast laps almost every single lap. So if you look at my top lap average for the pace that I set for TQ, you can look at my hot lap, my top 5 and my top 10 were all very close. So I didn't have a hot lap hero of a setup, but it was very stable, predictable, and I could do it for 5 minutes with minimal error. I am using the VRP Game Changer pistons in this car. I really like the way that they make the car feel. I can send it and jump to flat, and the car just kind of jumps and lands, and it doesn't do anything weird or bounce around after the fact. One thing to note with this rear end is that the shock location, I am testing and making sure that I'm not getting stuck in something that I think is fast when it's not, is I've been running the 4-wheel drive rear arm for a while now, and my goal going into this weekend was I was going to make the 2-wheel drive rear arm work, just so that I could keep myself educated and make sure that I'm aware of what's going on with the latest trends. However, with this 2-wheel drive rear arm, we took the rear shock and we moved it out like a hole on the top and bottom. So it moved it to a very wide position, which is something that I've never done before. What it did is it made the car feel very stable and predictable, very similar to how the car feels with the 4-wheel drive arms. But then you do have to compensate with that kind of super wide location by lightening your shock oil to get it to feel the same. So if you look at the sheet, there is a 10 weight difference in oil from front to rear. I had 25 weight oil up front and I had 17 weight oil in the rear. So nearly 10, but you get the point. The last thing that I played around with this car is I pretty much tried every spring combo under the sun. None of them felt perfect, but the Kyosho White X springs felt the best. The car was definitely getting into the track, but not bottoming out, and it wasn't staying out of the track and just being too stiff. These definitely felt the best and how I wanted the car to feel. Jeremy Harris, he was running the mod class. I think that he ended up going with a more traditional AEV1 gray front and a AEV1 green rear, or he may have switched to the TLR white at the end. I'm not really sure, but I saw him running that spring combo most of the weekend in the modified class. When I ran that spring combo, the car just felt like it flopped to the rear end too much and it became very lazy. So I wanted a spring with a little bit more support, which is why I went with this spring combo. The last thing that I played around with was the link length for the turnbuckles, front and rear. In round 1 of qualifying, I really struggled to get the car to rotate. I just felt like it was so stuck and wasn't really doing anything that I just was frustrated. The link was in the long position up front and in the rear. And what I did is I basically shortened it up about 1 millimeter in both the front and the rear, and I changed the hole locations around to what the setup sheet reads now. When I went to that shorter link, the car became way more reactive, but it suddenly got a little bit sketchy in the high-speed sweeper, and I definitely had to back the car off a little bit as far as how hard I was pushing it. Not really sure what else I would try different to get some comfortability out of the car, but I felt like it was pretty good and I could drive it for 5 minutes and not be completely stressed with what was potentially about to happen. We got the TQ going into the A main. Go ahead and jump into here so you guys can see what happened, and then we'll be back to wrap this puppy up.
In the 8.
Good luck, Kenny.
Ruben in the 9, and Zach
Bless you.
in the 10.
Good luck, dude.
Bump ups. Julian, help me
Good luck,
get
guys.
on the lines. Thank you, sir.
Dustin, close
Everyone on the lines there. Patrick, are they on their stripes? Help me grid them up. Are they good? December is our final race of the day. 17.5 stock buggy. Turn marshal's ready, racer's ready. You guys are going live in less than 5. There we go.
It's happening.
It's happening. The turner's going up. Yes, it is. Styles trying to hold off a hard charging pack. Oh, they're going to wad it up the hill. Alessio coming off a 13.5 win. Starting to charge it from the 4th position. Oh, he's going to get a bad bounce off the double. Oh, then everyone's going to wad it up behind. Oh, and it's going to catastrophic shutdown. Oh, just set it off to the side. Set it off to the side. There you go. See if he can figure it out. But that's going to put Styles where the rest of the crew doesn't want to hear it, out front with distance. Kenny's going to be, oh yeah, there's plenty of time. 50 down, 5, 10 to go. It's Ryan, followed by Kenny, Craig, David, Zach, top 5. Then it's Eric, Ruben, Edwin, Dustin, and Alessio. 110 down, Harris out front, Styles leading us off, going over top the tabletop, got a 6.1 second lead on Kenny and the crew.
Crash off the back side of the double.
Did you do it?
Like a barrel roll in the air, yeah.
That's awesome. Your leader, Ryan Styles Harris, rolls it over and nobody's around. Still got a nice distance. Kenny still in that number 2 spot. He's starting to distance himself from Craig now all the way up that number 3 spot. Fast local here to Newreds.
Thank you, Zach.
Gonna be that red and black with a black wheel. That's gonna be in your 3rd position. Eric Everett from the 6 up to the 4th spot. That is Easy Customs paint guy. You ever heard of him? There he is, racing. Got himself over the roller, sending over top the tabletop. That's in 4th position. Then it's Edwin 5th. Then it's Dustin Davis. 5-second lead. All you have to do is run some clean laps. Take this tone to tone. Kenny 5 seconds back. Then it's Dustin, Craig, Edwin, top 5. Then it's Eric, David, Zach, Ruben, and Alessio. 25 seconds left on the master clock. Your leader working his way over the roller, sending it over top the tabletop, up the hill, down the hill. Greg lets him by. I got a couple long laps. Time is ticking down. 7 seconds left on the master clock. Race it out. Race it out. Race it to the line. Race it to the line. Race it to the line. Race it to the line.
Nice drive at the end, Kenny. You were pushing it, dude.
That's what I was saying. Did it?
Time, that is time. Ryan, Styles, Harris.
Thank you, thank
Take
you.
that one. Kenny second.
Thanks, man, thank you.
Justin third.
Thank you, thank you.
Kids.
We did something.
The track is closed.
Thank you, man. So there you have it. Not bad. We can still get a win every once in a while. And surprisingly, it came with the two-wheel drive class. So super fun weekend overall. I was pretty happy with my cars. We got them to be very consistent and drivable. Not necessarily hot lap heroes, but a win's a win, right? So huge shout out and thank you to the Newreds crew for putting in a fresh layout for all of us Central Florida racers, and a shout out to Dave Duncan for putting on a very precise and fun racing experience with his race program over the weekend. Oh, I know this is a long one. Thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you to everyone over on my Patreon. Everybody up on the screen, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for your continued support. And of course, I need to give a huge shout out to all of my top tier supporters, starting with Robert Black, Tim Juskiewicz, Alex Johnson, Brandon Helton, and Brad Persons. Thank you all so very much for your continued support. So again, I'm going to go ahead and give one of these super cool key bar systems to one of my Patreon supporters. If you guys want to join the fun, link down below for that. But that's all for now. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. I am going to be doing a couple more races this year, traveling outside of Florida, and I am super excited about that. I'm going to be going to Adrenaline Raceway for their annual invitational race, and then I am going to be going to Masters of Dirt up in Myrtle Beach, so you guys got to check that out. That is an absolute must race. And I am going to be going to the Florida Carpet Champs. So those are my 3 big races for the end of the year. And then in December, I'm crossing my fingers, I'm working on something fun for you guys in December, but I need to keep you posted on that in the next video. So that's all for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, you know the deal, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.